Hey, you're about to listen to an older episode of the Volunteer Youth Worker podcast. This is a podcast that Sid Coop, Jason Ballard, and myself, Jeremy McDonald, started back in 2018 to answer the practical questions that you're asking in your youth ministry. But lots has changed since we started it in 2018. We've changed the name. We're doing new and different events and lots of other things. The thing that hasn't changed, though, is the content you're about to listen to, we think is still really valuable. But if you notice that some of the things we're talking about are obviously a little bit older, that is okay. You can always head to youthworker.community to stay up to date with what's happening currently right now here in 2024, and you can track along with us there. We'd love to see you. But enjoy this episode. Episode 123 of the Youth Ministry Team podcast. This is Jeremy. I've got Sid here, and we're going to introduce today's conversation because we're going to get off the mic here in a second. Hey, Sid, we've got a guest interviewer and some wonderful guests that they're going to interview. Who do we got?
This is so cool, Jared. Like, honestly, I'm really excited about this podcast and excited about the people that are jumping on this podcast, with us or for us. So are you going to talk? Are you going to tell the world about them or how are we going to do this?
I can fill them in. It's been a slower summer. We've had a few weeks where we've been on a little bit of a hiatus. We're coming back strong here. And this episode, as we're into fall kickoff season, is from a local youth pastor, Justin Atwood. He's on staff at Village Church out in Vancouver in Surrey, BC. And in particular, actually, Justin, of course, we know Justin really well. We get to work with Village, which is a lot of fun. But he's going to interview some of the high school students that are in his ministry about what makes a great small group leader. And I think that's so fun.
Yeah. And it's so important to me. It's important to me, Jeff, for a couple of reasons. Number one, it's like informing, right? So as youth leaders, we get to hear what actually makes a difference in kids' lives. So hey, youth workers, you should hear this and go, okay, what can I learn from this? But it should also be really affirming. So you should hear this and go, oh man, what we do actually does make a difference. And what's funny, I don't know, Jared, about you, but when I was leading my small group, it was pretty rare that the dudes would actually tell me what an impact I had in their life. It was just like, man, I sure hope this is making a difference. So when we get a moment like this, where we get to actually hear from students speaking about what a difference a youth worker makes in their lives, I just think it's so important. So youth workers, I hope you love this episode. This is going to be great.
Yeah, absolutely. And before we jump in, we want to make sure we get an invite out to everybody because this is the fall season where this is dropping live. And we've got a big event coming up called our On the Road Tour. Sid, why should people follow the link to On the Road Tour and come hang out with us in one of our Canadian stops?
Yeah. So first of all, we've been dying to get face-to-face with youth work again, Jer. I have for sure. So this is one way that we get to do it. These are kind of quick hitting events, about 3 hours. And here's our hope is that we can help you reimagine what God's vision is for your youth ministry. So we're going to do some vision casting. And if you're a point leader, we're going to actually train you on how to vision cast for other people within your organization. It's going to help you recruit great volunteers. It's going to affirm volunteers that are already on board. If you're a volunteer coming, this is going to be affirming for you. Hopefully God will use it to reignite your passion. So we're excited about that. We're going to talk about how do we continue to equip our team so that we can be really functional teams because the mission is so important. And then finally, we're partnering with Alpha on the tour, and we're going to be talking about the latest research on evangelism because, man, Jer, like in my mind, in some ways, the last 19 months, we've been surviving. But honestly, God's calling us to something more than just surviving. And the need is so great. And I know as I've been wrestling with this, God is helping me reimagine what it's like to be serious about sharing faith with my peers and my friends. And that's so important for our ministries as well. So I'm excited about the event. We're so excited to be there. People, come join us. It'll be great for us to be together again.
Yeah, can't wait for it. The link is in the show notes. And if you are not in Canada, we are sorry, but we will be hopefully coming your way sooner than later. We've got some big ideas out there for sure. But this is 22 now Canadian stops and coming up in just a few short weeks. All right, well, let's jump into today's conversation that Justin Atwood got to have with Rocco, Emma, and Mackenzie.
Welcome to the Youth Ministry Team Podcast. Youth ministries rise and fall on the team of volunteers. So this podcast is for the whole team. Join the conversation as we tackle the practical questions you're asking so you can be encouraged and equipped as you head into your role in your youth ministry this week.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Youth Ministry Team Podcast. My name is Justin Atwood and I am the Senior High Youth Associate at Village Church, way out in Surrey, BC. And I've been working with our Senior High Ministry at Village since the beginning of 2021, which was kind of like right before the pandemic hit. So most of my youth ministry professional experience, I guess, has been pandemic focus. Like Zoom Youth is like my game, all right? But I've actually been involved with Village Youth in different volunteer roles and capacities since 2016. And today I have the incredible opportunity to be hosting today's episode, where we will be having a conversation with some very special guests focused solely on the topic of small groups in youth ministry. We're going to be talking about all sorts of questions like, why are small groups important? How do you build community in your small group? How do small groups help with discipleship and faith? And the question of the day, what makes a good small group leader? But before we jump into that, I would love for our three guests to introduce themselves. And these guests are very special to me because they are students from our ministry here at Village Youth. Because, like, let's get real. When we're talking about youth ministry, who better to hear from and learn from regarding things like small groups than the people who are actually in them themselves? So we're going to hear from our students. So why don't you guys take some time to introduce yourselves? Let's talk about your names, grades, how long have you been in Village Youth, and what is one of your best or like funnest memories from your time at Village Youth?
Okay. Thank you, Justin. My name is Rocco. I just finished grade 11, so I'm going to grade 12 now. So my senior year is coming up. Pretty nervous, but that's okay. And my favorite memory from Village was probably getting absolutely destroyed in the mosh pit in probably grade 7, and then my youth leader having to carry me out in his arms like a baby, and I was just crying. Yeah.
I literally remember
good
like
memories,
seeing it
good
like,
memories.
like a picture from a movie, like Alex carrying Rocco over his shoulder out of the mosh. Man.
Oh, that's amazing.
My name is Emma, and I just finished grade 11. I've been at Village Youth since grade 7, I believe. And one of the best moments that I can think of my time at Village Youth was the youth retreat at Camp Kiwanis in February 2020.
That was a fire retreat. It was a good retreat.
It was a good retreat.
Yes. I'm Mackenzie, and I just finished grade 12, so I'm graduated. Woo!
Old.
and I started coming to youth in the end of grade 10, grade 10, yes. And the best memory that I have was getting baptized at the winter retreat in 2020. So that was really
there you go.
Good retreat.
That retreat was fire.
That was a fire retreat.
That was.
Yeah, guys, this is awesome. Thank you guys so much for being on this conversation with me today. Like, actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I think some of you guys have been at Village Youth longer than I have. Yeah, that might be true. So that's kind of weird. But it's great to be chatting with you guys. And when it comes to our context at Village Youth, just so people are aware, small groups have kind of always been a part of our ministry. Like, we've always had leaders and small group time, and we've done it in different ways throughout the years. But it was actually like maybe during the pandemic that we really decided, like, hey, this is like a foundational part of our ministry. We really want to focus everything that we're doing towards this aspect of our ministry, whether it's changing up how we do sermons or adjusting how we do worship or even how we play games. Like, how can it all filter back to the small group experience? So that's kind of why we are talking about this today. It's been a big part of our ministry. And so with that being said, let's jump right into it and just introduce this whole idea, talking from a student's perspective of like, what is a small group? Why do we do them? And for you as a student, why are small groups important to you?
That's a good question.
Very good.
Small groups. So how do I just describe small groups? I mean, for small groups for me, I mean, okay, there's like 2 of us and there's like 3 of us. We have a pretty small group, but like, in all honesty, if I was able to describe my small group, we're like brothers from other mothers. Like, let's be honest here. I'll describe my small group kind of like a brotherhood aspect. You know what I mean? It's like we have all like of our different lives and everything like that, but at the end of the day, we all have like each other and super, super connected to each other and stuff like that, which I think is pretty cool.
It's awesome.
Yeah. So when I first joined Village Youth, I never really had like a good Christian community. So when I first joined, I was very shy in like a big group setting. So small groups were like the one place where I felt so safe in. And I think it also has to do with the leaders for sure. But it's just like a good like small group that is that you can just kind of be open and vulnerable with. Even if you don't want to do that, you can just sit and listen to people's stories and listen to what they're doing in their lives and all that. So I think it's just a really good tool for growth in not only like your faith, but in like your relationships with people.
Yeah.
So love small group.
I would describe small groups as just somewhere where you can really be vulnerable and share how you're feeling, even if you're not wanting to. You can always just listen to what other people are saying and hearing their experiences. It's really nice because you have the sermon beforehand, and when it was in person, it was with a really big group of people, and it was nice to have that separation. Obviously now it's different, but I remember like always being super excited to go. Still am super excited to go to small group and just have that moment, those moments to talk about what you're going through, pour into your leader, ask questions, get answers, and just become even more knowledgeable.
Yeah. I'm kind of going off of Emma just quickly. I think kind of when she was talking about of how we had like the sermon, then we go into small groups is what I really, really do appreciate. And I talk about this a lot, is having shorter sermon times, which are like 15 to 20 minutes long, and then having a much longer small group time. I think that's so important because like we've learned the context, we've like learned the homework. It's like now it's time to do the homework. Now it's time to wrestle those questions we've been asked during the sermon and how we can apply it to our lives, which I think is super important because it used to be like 40-minute sermons, 10-minute small groups times. You're kind of like, oh, we don't really get anything out of it, right? Because we need to talk about this stuff. It's important. But having that longer small group time is what to me, I think, and to others, I know other people can agree, is that's super important because now we're trying to answer those questions that were in the sermons and stuff like that, which I think is super cool.
Oh, so good. And you guys kind of touched on something that I want to like focus on a little bit. Emma, you kind of mentioned that, we have a large youth ministry. There's a lot of students in the room, and small group is just like one way for us to make it smaller, because the last thing that we want is for a new student to show up and fall through the cracks, or someone to come week after week and never get introduced to somebody, never make a friend, or never get connected to a leader. And one of the things that I'm like always harping on our leaders about, it's kind of like this catchphrase for us almost at this point, is that discipleship happens best in the context of authentic community. We're always saying that discipleship happens best in the context of authentic community. And that's kind of like the motivation behind our whole idea of why we're doing small group, this idea of authentic community. So for you guys, how would you guys describe the community aspects of your small group? Like, what do the relationships and friendships look like with the students in your group? And have those relationships developed over time as you've been in your small group?
Well, for me, so I had unfortunately I had a big like leader switch, and then a bunch of the guys in my small group kind of just bounced straight after COVID, which sucks too. I mean, I'm still trying to get them coming back, but it's just hard because they have their lives with like basketball and baseball, whatever it is, right? Anyway, so it was kind of a fresh start. I mean, my friend Josh is like the only one that has been there with me since coming to Village since grade 6 or whatever. And so this year we got new leaders too. And we have another couple of other boys, just there's only 4 of us, right? And then so all of our building and our relationship and building this community all started through Zoom. So it like over time, kind of like you said, Justin, just grew and grew and grew, kind of going from 20 minutes to an hour to 2 hours. And I remember one night we're like turning off our cameras at like 9:45, which I think is pretty cool, just because like we've had such long and such cool discussions. It's like, why not go longer, right? And just seeing that develop over time too is I think it's pretty cool, because now when we see each other in person, we just go crazy. That's all I can really say, right? And then I've like solid friends now. Like I really have solid friends in that group. I think it's pretty cool. So I can like reach out to them comfortably. They can reach out to me comfortably. I think that's the blessing.
Well, for me, Well, for me, I think small groups are just like a very like kind of healthy communication. Oh my goodness. And so I love when we
Communication.
used to
Communication.
I love when we used to like be in a big group together. I love just walking by when we had small group time and I could just see all the different groups,
Mhm.
just how the leaders are pouring into the students and students most importantly are pouring into each other. I think that's just such like a good tool to use. What am I trying to say? Oh my goodness. Yeah, I just think that it's so cool how friendships grow in that in
Uh-huh.
that setting, and how not only you're confined to like your small group, but I have very close relationships. Ooh, now friendships because I'm graduated.
Oh, Mackenzie.
Very good friendships with other small group leaders, like the grade 9 girls, well, now grade 10 girls. Yeah, so I think it's just really cool just to see how the dynamics are between students and leaders and students and students.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Mhm. For me, my small group with the now grade 12 girls, um,
Ooh.
it's been cool to see how it's grown over the years. I know there's been a couple people who have been there since when I've been there since grade 7, but I never really connected with them until like last year, pretty much, and really grew a strong friendship. So that's been really cool. And there's always like Rocco with his, there's been changes throughout the small group with maybe a few leaders and some people who um, haven't come for a while because of COVID. So like that's obviously sad to see, but also seeing new people come in. We had like for my small group, we had I think a big change with people last year, and saw a bunch of new people come in, which was really cool. And to see those friendships grow to where they are now is really awesome too.
Mhm.
And also with one of my leaders, she's been there throughout all of my high school since like grade 7. So it's been really cool to see that relationship between me and my leader grow and see that um, just, yeah, that grow even more and just seeing the community grow all together.
Yeah, so small group does like it gives us this great space for a very large youth ministry to become this small, intimate, like personal space where you have friends that you can like relate to and own, and like this is your space and your time to talk and explore different things. And Rocco, you'd been kind of talking about like the idea of like wrestling sermon content and questions that you
Yeah.
have, and that's like the other part of like that statement that I gave. Discipleship happens best in the context of community. So this discipleship part is very important for us because we want to see students like you guys, whether you're Christian or non-Christian, we want to see you guys developed into fully devoted followers of Jesus. That's kind of like the whole point. We're not just throwing a youth club or a party. We want to see you guys transformed and following Jesus. So for you guys, how has small group helped you to grow in your faith and your discipleship? Like, has small group actually helped you and given you a space to wrestle with your questions and your faith? Has it helped you to actually grow in those areas as you follow Jesus?
For sure. I love small group because I can ask the most stupidest questions ever. Well, I think they are. And my leaders will somehow go off that and just talk for like 15 minutes or like 20 minutes and we just keep going. And so I think that's just really cool how like for me, like I think some questions are dumb for me, like talking out loud. And I'm just like, oh, but I'm like probably half the other girls probably think this, but just don't want to say it because it's stupid, quote unquote. And I think it's definitely cool to have accountability partners just to not only with like other, with your friends like your age. I think the leaders are great for keeping you accountable, especially like with me, I don't really have, well, I used to not have a Christian community. So now that I do, I love like being held accountable for reading my Bible, praying, just keeping my relationship with Jesus like strong and growing. So I think that's just really kind of cool, and just to have like this security within small groups that that whatever is like said in small groups, stay in small groups. So I think that's just cool to have like a good vulnerable space to have and share what you're going through currently. So I think that's really neat.
Yeah, so for me especially, it's like small groups has definitely made a huge impact on my faith. The main reason why is just kind of what like Mackenzie was saying. I think especially for like us guys too, it's super hard to be vulnerable nowadays just because we're just like we have like this idea in our head. If we think it or not, it's like we should be living up to the standard. We're not supposed to have problems. We're not supposed to be going through these things. Who cares if you do this? Who cares if you do that? Blah, 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 blah. But I think especially having like these like small groups, it helps me grow deeper within my faith of Jesus. It's because I can be vulnerable, and like Mackenzie said, I can ask those stupid questions. And it's like because small groups are so intimate, and within the building of relationships with our leaders and everything like that, it becomes so beautiful to the point where it's like talking to like your older brother or like your older sister or something like that, right? And it doesn't even feel like you're even talking to doesn't even feel like you're talking to your leader at the end of the day. You're just kind of talking to like, like a person who's giving you advice, and advice to that, like, not like I want to say like advice that works all the time, but like advice that I think is super, super important that we should consider and stuff like that, right? And just like little stuff like that too, and just having a space to wrestle with those questions, and having space to think about certain questions and asking new questions, even if it's something off of the sermon or anything like about that, I think is super, super cool. And seeing where I was in grade 6 with my relationship with Jesus and seeing it now is a big, big, big drastic difference. And I have to own that up to the small groups, right? So, yeah.
Yeah, for me, small groups have definitely helped. I mean, it's really nice to have that smaller community within a big community, that just accountability, and where you can be vulnerable and tell people what's going on, and then have them help you through that. Yeah, I know it's hard for a lot of people when, specifically at school, they don't have that Christian community around them, and they see all these people, kids their age, and going off in different directions and doing things that they specifically may not agree with. And like there's peer pressure, there's getting influenced by all that. Like it's really hard. But when you know that you have that community of people who have the same beliefs as you, and think about certain things the same way as you and agree with you, it's super helpful to go back to them, and just, it's kind of like a breath of fresh air in a way, just being like, these people understand, they know how I'm feeling about this and stuff like that. And it's just always so helpful to know that those people are there, they're willing to listen, and they're willing to help. And yeah.
Yeah, and for me, for like my perspective, it's been like super cool even for me to see your guys' like small groups like grow together, like your relationships with your leaders, your relationships with other students, and just like the depth of conversation you're having. I just remember back like a few years ago, it was like pulling teeth just to have like a 10-minute conversation like in a small group. It's like wild. People were like running all over the place. And it was just kind of like this like weird part of our ministry. But I'm thinking back into like the middle of the pandemic on Zoom. Like Mackenzie, you would have been familiar with this. The grade 12 girls had like a 3-hour Zoom small group time. And I was just like sitting there in like the waiting room, like, what is going on? Like, did they all fall asleep or like what? And then like, it's like 3 hours. That's insane. I don't want to sit on Zoom for 3 hours, but then your leaders are coming out and like saying like, this is like the greatest like conversation we've ever had. Like there's nowhere else we'd rather be. We're just having these awesome conversations. And it's not even just the faith conversations, but having fun and building friendships and relationships in that way. And like people playing Among Us over Zoom, and like, it's like the weirdest stuff was going on, but like super cool to see God moving in that space. But let's just move on to our final question, our final topic of discussion, which is the one that, everyone is waiting to hear. It's all about the small group leaders. So we have a lot of people listening that are actually youth leaders in different contexts. They are leading small groups, and they want to hear from you guys. They're looking to grow and become better and hone in on their skills. So how would you guys describe your relationship with your small group leaders? Like, what are they like? How have your leaders impacted you? What do you appreciate about them? And in your opinion, what makes a great small group leader?
This is going to be fantastic. This is going to be amazing.
For me, well, as I've said, like I've had the same leader for a while, and I've had some new leaders come in as well, which has also been really awesome. But having like just that one leader who's been there through it all, and they've always wanted to hear like about what I'm going through, and they're always interested, and they're always checking up on me, and they're consistent with wanting to know what I'm going through and helping me through things is always so helpful. And just having the other leaders that I can confide in, and just knowing that, they're always there. they're always willing to listen. They're always willing to give you some answers because they've obviously experienced a little more than we have and have gone through some things that we may be going through at like the same time that they did in their lives. So I think just someone who is always there, someone who really wants to see you grow is so helpful. And yeah, someone who is going to ask you questions and like help you learn more and help you like, I don't know what the words I'm looking for is, but just like someone who can help you ask the right questions and that they can give you those answers.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. For me, unfortunately for me, I've had different youth leaders growing up. So different youth leader, grade 6, grade 7, grade 8, you kind of get the idea of just kind of just youth leaders either just dipping out and just nowhere to be seen, in all honesty, or just youth leaders just too caught up, or just youth leaders just too caught up with life. Like I know one of my youth leaders now, he has a family, and I was golfing with him on Tuesday for one of our youth nights because I was the only one that was with him. And then he's like, and then he's like, I'm sorry. And he's like, yeah, I don't think I can do youth next year only because I got home from work and I just saw my wife get destroyed by my 2 younger daughters. And he's like, I have to help her out. I have to figure things out, which I respect, right? But so for this year for me, unlike like Emma and Mackenzie, they're talking about, I got new youth leaders, which started over Zoom. So shout out to Alex, which I think for small group leaders, I think it's super important to have those relationships, and especially trying to see it from Alex's perspective as well, is trying to get to that vulnerable point. Like if he was my youth leader in grade 6 and 7 until now, trying to build up a relationship of like vulnerability and just that kind of connection level would be super, super hard. But me seeing him is kind of like, I've known this dude forever. Like it wouldn't make sense to my head if I was a different person. Be like, wait, you met him this year? Like I've obviously seen him throughout youth, but not like this. And I think it's super, super cool. And I like having someone that can keep me accountable too, and just little things like that, which I think are super important. And just kind of like I see him like, in all honesty, I see him like another brother of mine, or even like a father figure, right? Just kind of to like look up to seek help from. And I think that's super, super important, super, super solid. That I know now that I'm not gonna get ditched from either leader leaders or get or whatever like that. And I have I have someone that I can go to the end of the day. And if something does happen, like even with Chad, he gave me his number and stuff. It's like, hey dude, I'm gonna keep in touch with you. And I think that's super important as well, because there's also is relationships with our youth leaders outside of youth as well, of just being like, hey man, how are you doing today? Or hey man, I'm around your house, want to go get coffee, or just little stuff like that, right? It doesn't have to happen on our Tuesday nights between 7 to 9 p.m. It can happen on the outside, which I think is super, super cool, which I think all leaders should strive towards to be, right? Because they're like, in all honesty, our parents do have a big impact in our faith. The youth ministry have a big impact on our faith, but our small group leaders, especially how Village does youth ministry, has the biggest like impact on our faith. And I think we can agree, because that's who we're running to if we're crying. That's who we're running to for questions and like little stuff like that, which I think is super cool.
Yeah, I've been very lucky over the past few years that I've been at youth that I've had mostly the same youth leaders. I mean, one did have to move out to Calgary, which I was very sad about, but I was sad that our relationship might have not been the same, like communication wise and all these different things. But then I realized how strong our connection was, like even though we live far away from each other, that we still have this really strong connection with each other. And I am so thankful for that. Definitely just being there with like your students, or like having like that close connection with our youth leaders. I feel like that's something that we all cherish like so much. And so I love when my leaders shoot me a text like, oh, how are you doing today? Or like, just thinking about you, or like something like that. And I'm like, I've had a bad day. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I needed this so much and I had no idea. And then I just keep texting. And then they might feel like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have texted. No. Because then they get an essay. No. Yeah, so I think the biggest thing for me, I love seeing when youth continues outside of youth. Like there's no like confinement to youth. Like it has to be in this building at this time during Tuesday nights only, that it continues throughout the week and throughout the months, throughout the years. And I think that's so important just to have that. Yeah, I just love my youth leaders so much. They just have always been there, and I love them.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
yeah, I think that one of my main things that I absolutely adore about, I think all youth leaders, I think they have like kind of like the same thing. It's like no matter like what you did in your past or like what you're doing now, it's like they come to accept you, and then they want to help like better you or like point you in the right direction to find a better path with Jesus. And I think that's just so important, how they always trying to make like not like a bad situation like better, but they make a bad situation and they help point you to Jesus. So then you can go from there and go with Jesus to find a better path. So I think that's just so cool how continually they just keep doing that. And yeah, I just admire all youth leaders. So thank you all youth leaders for being great.
Yeah.
Can I add something quickly? I remember what I was going to say. It was leaders that take initiative, because I remember when I was younger and I first met my youth leader that I have now, she reached out to me and she's like, hey, let's go for coffee. Let's go talk. I want to get to know you better. And I was just like, oh my gosh, this leader wants to get to know me. I'm so excited. Like I was so excited. Like someone wants to hear about what I have to say and like just all those things. So yeah, what I wanted to say was leaders that like take initiative and start the conversation, because I know that us as students can kind of be scared and maybe like overthink it, like, oh, maybe they don't want to hear about it. My problems aren't that big. Like, it's fine. Like, I'll deal with it myself. But then having that leader who's like, hey, what's going on? What are you going through? Like, tell me about it. And you're just like, oh my gosh, someone cares, and someone who is, someone who I can talk to and trust and be vulnerable with.
Like, going off of Emma again, like, I know this is gonna sound weird, but comparing of one of my youth leaders in the past and my youth leaders now, there's a big drastic difference of just commitment in a way as well. As in the fact that where I've had youth leaders where they're just a Tuesday night show up, and there's youth leaders I've had where they're wanting to know you and they're greedy to know you too, and they want to be a part of your life, which I think is super, super cool. And just, like, I mean, just the sum of everything that Emma Mackenzie said, I think that's super important to repeat that, because what makes and break a good youth leader at the end of the day is that stuff that we all just said right there, which I think is crucial.
Yeah, you guys said like so much good stuff. Just to highlight some, like, Emma, your leaders are super consistent and they take initiative and they actually want to come and get to know you. Rocco, you have like a leader that you love who's super authentic, and you almost view him as like a big brother in a sense. He's always checking in on you, and you feel like it's not this weird student leader relationship. It is like, I can go to this guy and I know he actually cares about me, which is super cool.
It's not forced. It's natural too, which like I think is awesome.
Like you guys go golfing together and stuff. So.
And
then Mackenzie, you just have super close connections with your leaders. Like they're actually your genuine friends. Like you have real friendships with them. And one thing that you said that really sticks out to me is like youth doesn't just have to stay inside of our youth program. Like you can do youth outside of you. So your leaders texting you and reaching out to you, and just even the small things of just sending like, hey, how are you doing today? Like praying for you, like how much of an impact that can make on a life of a student when they know like an adult outside of their families thinking about them and praying for them. It's so huge. But I just want to thank you guys for taking this time to jump on here and have this conversation with me. And I want to thank all of our listeners for tuning into this conversation. We hope and pray that this has helped you think through the value of small group ministry, and that hopefully somehow it makes a positive impact on how you lead your students this week in youth ministry. And hey, make sure to subscribe to this podcast, leave a review.
5 stars.
How we're doing, and share this with the people in your life who might find this valuable. That would be greatly appreciated. We had a lot of great wisdom shared here by all these students. So we hope you guys have a great week and tune in next time.
Yeah, tune in. Peace.
Well, there you have it, you guys. That is such an encouraging word from those three. And thank you so much to Rocco, Emma, and Mackenzie for coming on the podcast. And so we want to see you back here next week, but we also want to see you in person. We referenced at the start, Sid, all about our On the Road tour. And want to make sure people know this is designed for the staff, designed for point leaders, folks who are the decision makers in youth ministries. And so that's why a lot of these dates you'll notice are like during the work day, during the work week. That's pretty intentional. So we want to see them there. And one of the things about this is that we've got a partnership on the road and then also with the podcast with Trinity Western. Sid, we absolutely love Trinity Western. Do you want to talk a little bit about why?
Yeah. Listen, Jer, I'm so excited about Trinity Western University, how they're equipping students to live faithfully in all environments within society, you know, both in terms of spaces that we would say are like about vocational ministry and spaces that would be like not vocational ministry in nature, but still both equally important for the kingdom work that God's called us to do. They're innovative with how they're doing it. And I'm just so thankful for the work that they, especially by the way, Jared, their leadership development. Hey, listen, if you're actually looking to get to a university that's not only going to give you the tools you need for your vocational calling, but it's also going to shape your leadership skill and your character. I just so thankful for Trinity Western University. We love them, and you should definitely go and check them out.
Yeah, I love that. All right, we'll see you back here next week for another episode of the Youth Ministry Team Podcast.